We're going to get started. Okay, thanks everyone for joining us today to celebrate New South Wales Women's Week and International Women's Day, which is tomorrow, Saturday, March the 8th. With this, Daracon Wellness, I'm pleased to welcome our guest speaker for today, Sam Newman from Wellness. And we'll be doing a little Q&A session with Sam, followed by a barbecue lunch. The theme for this year's International Women's Day is Accelerate Action. And the reason behind this theme is a worldwide call to acknowledge strategies, resources and activities that positively impact women's advancement and to support the implementation. There's an array of effective strategies and resources that we can all do to help accelerate action. And some of those are supporting women in leadership and decision making, recruiting, retaining and developing diverse talent, and providing women with access to quality education and training. At Daracon, we are accelerating action by supporting women in our cadet and graduate program, supporting the mentoring initiative with NAWIC and CCF, along with nominating women for NAWIC awards, the She Builds program at Hexham. We've got women in leadership training opportunities. We've increased the focus on recruitment of women across all areas of the business, such as plant operators, engineers and truck drivers. We have women participating in our labour pool, and we support local women's community groups such as Jenny's Place and Carrie's Place. I'm now going to hand over to Whitney.
Thanks, Linda. So we are pleased to welcome not just one guest from WestTrac today, but two. We have Fred Haynes here from WestTrac with us to introduce his colleague and our guest speaker, Sam. Some of you may recognise Fred as he was our Divisional Manager for Plant and Transport team from 2016 to 2020 here at Daracon just before joining WestTrac. We are so lucky to have him with us today, so we'll hand it over to him.
Thank you. Yeah, appreciate obviously the invite here for myself and Sam. Had time here with Daracon, long-standing business in this region, particularly privately owned still, which is awesome. I had 17 years previously with WestTrac and been back there for six months now. So I guess this week and this year is 50 years for International Women's Week, which is a pretty huge milestone. Daracon themselves as well, 40 years. WestTrac New South Wales, 20 years, and CAT this year is 100 years. So I think Sam, who I'll introduce, she's been a mentor like myself for women in civil. I first met Sam about 3 or 4 years ago in the mentoring program. I know she's mentored some Daracon people here previously, and I think when you look at diversity and transition, I think the CCF have got a target of 50% women's participation by 2050. So you've got Sam, who's I've learned this week, she's coming out of the media industry for 10 years, and she'll talk about that. But moving from that into the construction industry, transferable skills, she manages a team of people at a very good level. I think Sam, the bit you'll find when you talk to Sam is she just has a really good go get them attitude. So I think the time I've been around Sam in the last few years, doesn't matter what roles or what she's done within WestTrac, she just puts her hand up and very much just approaches the business, irrespective of female or not female. She just gets in there and gets the job done. So look, appreciate the time here, and I think we'll pass it over to Sam now. And thank you very much.
Oh, thanks, Fred. That's so nice. Hey, everybody, how you doing?
All right, well, thanks, Fred. We'll just start our Q&A now. So we've got a few questions to ask Sam. So first question, can you share a bit about your journey in the mining and construction industry?
Yeah, look, I haven't got much of a journey in the mining industry, but I've been working in construction, or part of WestTrac's construction business for the last 6 years now. And as Fred touched on before that, I was in media. So I came from a cutthroat, news-based industry. I had predominantly female people in my office, but the whole business was a real female-male equal split. So although it was, nice and equal, it was still very cutthroat. So I learned to grow a really thick skin in that media industry. You're dealing with hard-hitting news every day, journalists on your back and customers on your back for advertising all the time. So it was a tough gig to be in, but also like I said, learned to grow a bit of a thick skin. And I thought, okay, I'm going to use that thick skin. I'm going to go into an industry that, you know, might need that. And I walked into Westrac on my first day. There was 880 people in that office. There's 880 people at Tomago. And I walked down the corridor and I saw nothing but high vis, and most of those were male. And I was in a pencil skirt and a pair of high heels, and I was like, oh, what have I got myself into? So, you know, obviously intimidated. I felt like a fish out of water, and that was compounded by the fact that I knew nothing about the industry. I come from media, and then I knew nothing about machinery. I couldn't tell you what the difference between an excavator or a forklift. Like, I knew very little. I do now, don't worry, guys. I'm very well versed. And then compounded by the bias that I had, just like with this perceived notion I had from watching cop shows and, you know, like army shows where you like, if you're going into a man's world, you've got to toughen up and act like one of the men, you know. So I was like, yeah, I've got a thick skin. This is going to be great. I'm going to be fine. And I walked into Westrac, and I was really lucky that I walked in, and it was, you know, they gave me space to grow. They gave me really good opportunities. You know, I worked hard, put my head down and learned, but I had some really good structures in place and people that were championing me for that reason, which was really awesome. So didn't have to have such a thick skin after all, but yeah, so for the last 6 years, I've had 4 different roles. So I moved into Westrac in a marketing role to start with. I come from a sales manager background at Fairfax in my media industry, but went in a marketing role, and then got offered a supervisor role for our outbound sales team. Moved into new machines as the sales manager for our building construction products, or the smaller machinery. And then I've worked hard to get to where I am now, which is the aftermarket sales management gig for product support. And I look after the state, and I look after a team of people who look after customers from 1 machine through to 19. So yeah, that's my journey so far in construction.
Very good.
Yeah.
And I guess with that, so what pursued your career, like what inspired and pursued your career, and how has your experience at Westrac shaped your path?
Yeah, really good question. I didn't pursue a career in construction. I didn't really care. It was the position description of the job that I went for matched my skill set, and I was like, oh, I could do that job. I didn't know where it was. I didn't really know much about Westrac. I'd come from a very female-dominated industry, so I didn't really know much about it. But I was like, oh, I can do that job. That's cool. Let me look at this business and see what they're about. You know, their mission statement's pretty good, and you know, there was a lot of structures in place, and I was like, oh yeah, okay, we'll give it a go. But I didn't try to get into the industry. I got the job that I wanted. And then from there, I've been able to sort of create my own path. But I had some really good female leadership along the way. So I walked into my interview first day, sat down, and I was met with 2 female leaders in the business, both of them really strong characters, really, open, confident beings. And I was like, oh, this is a place I want to work, because I could see that there was a path for females in our business straight away just by who was interviewing me. Yeah. But yeah, and then after I got the job, I started to, well, in our business, we call it bleeding yellow, which I know is a bit of a corny term. But yeah, so I started to get that love of the brand, and that's because I could see our customers loving Caterpillar, and all these customers that were aspiring to own Caterpillar machinery and wanted a cat hat, or, you know, just had the merch on. And so over the last 6 years, I've grown to become really proud to work for Westrac, and really proud to work with Caterpillar machines. So yeah, I grew into it, whereas, a lot of people sort of come into the industry or come into Westrac wanting to be there for that reason, for the name, and I didn't really care about the name, and I grew to love it. Yeah.
Sam, have there been any challenges that you were faced as a woman in the industry? And if so, how have you overcome them?
Yes. I mean, yeah, look, yeah, absolutely. But a lot of them are internalized. So I had a lot of perceived bias. So like I said, coming into the industry thinking I had to have this thick skin on, I was like, all right, it's going to be me against all the men. It's going to be, it's going to be hard. And then I'd, get passed over for an opportunity and I'd be like, oh, it's because I'm a woman in the business. And it wasn't. It was because I didn't have the skills yet to do that job, or you'd get spoken to by someone, you'd be like, oh, it's because I'm a woman in this business. It's like, nope, they're just cranky. They're speaking to everybody like that today, it was a little bit of, I thought it was because of me being a woman, and it was a lot more around, no, this is, you get treated fairly. So it was a lot of perceived bias there. The other big one that I've had to tackle was imposter syndrome. Does everyone know what imposter syndrome is? No? So imposter syndrome is when you have this nagging feeling of inadequacy, or the thought of, what am I doing here? I don't deserve this job, or, those kind of thoughts. And yet all that fake it till you make it kind of scenario. I'm like, I'm in the job, I've got to do really good. I don't really know what I'm doing. So you have those nagging feelings of inadequacy, but you're actually proving results and you're actually doing the job fine. But you still think you've got that imposter syndrome. Had a lot of that in all four roles in my job. And I know that women like to second guess themselves anyway, but I reached out to a lot of people because of it. So I'd be like, oh, I'm not very good at that, or I can't do that, or I've never been on the tools. I can't go and manage that team, and it was, my managers, who men and females within our business, that were like, well, why not? You've got 10 years of sales experience. You know exactly what you're doing. You've managed bigger sales teams than this before. It's exactly the same thing. It's just a different product. And it's like, you know what? You're right. So it was a lot of self-talk, a lot of self-doubt, and I had to overcome that. And I did that by reaching out to my peers in the business. So imposter syndrome was a big one for me. Yeah. In fact, right now I've got imposter syndrome because here I am sitting on a panel in front of all you people looking at me, and I'm like, I'm not special enough to me. I'm here. What are you doing? It's something I continue to struggle with in this industry.
Fair enough. That's okay. So as you are a CCF mentor yourself, and Fred mentioned it earlier, have you had any mentors or role models that have influenced your career, either within WestTrac or elsewhere, who have influenced your journey? And if so, what impact did they have on you?
Yeah, I think throughout my career I've had mentors. I'm a person that reaches out for help, sometimes to my advantage and sometimes not. Sometimes I'm reaching out for help and they're like, go away, you're annoying. But I do like to reach out and surround myself with people that can help. But the ones in this industry, because we'll try and keep it relevant for the people in the room, the ones in this industry, in my first year at WestTrac, they put me through a mentoring program called Rare Birds program. I don't know if anyone's heard of that before. It's a third-party mentoring business, and they match you up with like-minded business people. And I got a mentor named Karen Waters. She was the state manager of Rentokil. She was top dog, big wig, cool chick. And I was like, oh, this is intimidating. And the thing that I learned the most from her was you get it wrong. Sometimes you get it wrong. She used to get it wrong all the time, or she'd not know the answers and she'd have to come back to me and she'd be like, I don't know how to fix that problem. Let me go away and think about it and come back to you. So it was like this, person who I expected to have all this knowledge and was intimidating to me to go, no, sometimes I don't know. And sometimes it's okay to not know. But she knew she was good at her job and she knew she was a good mentor. And she was like, yeah, no, I'll come back to you though, and we'll make that work. And that was a really big eye opener for me. Was we can have heaps of people throughout the business, and you don't have to know everything to be good at your job. You just need to know where to go to find it. Yeah. And then through WestTrac, I've had two really strong female bosses, and then two really strong male bosses throughout WestTrac, which have also been championing my growth, which has been awesome. Because, you know, it's not just band together as women and then women go and, you know, face the world together. You're approaching it as a business, and that includes men and women. So it was really nice to get, you know, have that equality within WestTrac for mentors.
What do you think mining and construction companies can do better to attract and retain women in the industry?
Well, that's a big question, isn't it? Look, in full disclosure, I've been sent these questions ahead of time, right? So knowing that was a big question, I was like, okay, I'm going to sit down and put some thought to this. And there were a couple of things that came to the top of my head. And the first one, I was like, put your money where your mouth is, right? Let's talk about paid parental leave. That is going to attract women to a job over a business that isn't got paid parental leave. So paid parental leave, and then, so big one, yes, that's probably the big one. Second one is return to work programs, and having some sort of career path for women that want to have children. Yes, we're not in the 50s anymore. We're not going to stay at home and have children. Like, they want a career. So let's give them that opportunity for when they come back, they don't feel like they're stagnated in the same role. We'll give them flexible working hours, with them flexible working arrangements, so working from home if that's a possibility. And then having some really clear paths as to where they want to grow in their career. You know, not just to come back to their own same job and feel like that they're doing the same thing and just keep pedaling under the water, you know. So that was a really big one to retain women, because there's a lot of people that go on maternity leave and never come back, right? So it was like, how do we keep them in the business? Then I thought about the soft and fluffy stuff, which I love, which is in WestTrac, and I call it soft and fluffy, but it's the stuff that I get really involved in, and that's we've got like a diversity and inclusivity group in WestTrac, which is really important, and it sheds light on minorities within our business, women being one of those, right? So that's where we talk about things like International Women's Day, which I missed last month's meeting, so I can't remember. I can't tell you what we're doing. But International Women's Day, or we talk about Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and we talk about you know, Pride Month and things like that. So we're shedding light, and we're making sure the customer is seeing the visibility of women in the business, but also other minorities within our business, and what they're doing in the community and in our business. So I think that's really important. That's soft and fluffy, making sure you have a really strong group of women around you. And then the last thing I thought of, I'm sorry, I know this is a really long question.
No, it's fine. Love it.
The last thing I thought of was around attraction. And how do we attract women to the industry, right? And like I said, I wasn't attracted to the industry. I just liked the job title, right? It was a good position description, thought I could do it justice. But I think that starts early. So I remember when I was going through my careers expo at high school, and I'm not going to tell you how long ago that was. That's awful. But that whole you can't be what you can't see notion was in play. So I can't remember seeing a female heavy diesel mechanic sitting there going, you should sign up to do this. This is awesome. I remember females in predominantly female roles and talking about what you could do there. So, you know, having that visibility where we've got teenagers and high schoolers, I think is super important. I was talking to you girls before about what we did last year. We had at WestTrac, we had over 100 women come to WestTrac's site just to check it out for like an apprentice drive. Come and see what it looks like. We're not big, scary WestTrac, and we're certainly not sitting there, you know, with grease on our faces and swearing and hollering. So it was an opportunity for women to actually have a squeeze of what it looks like without going, oh, I want to apply for that, you know. So we had 100 register. We had about 50-ish turn up, which was amazing. But we hosted that online, like this same sort of thing. So that was cool to be a part of and to see such engagement just from our local Newcastle area, which was awesome. Yeah, so just little things like that I think are really important for attracting people to the business or to the industry. Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks, Will. Last question. Is there any advice you would like to share for women working here at Daracon?
Yeah, so I think we just reiterate some of the stuff we've talked about, right? So know and do a little bit of that self-learning around, you know, are you feeling imposter syndrome? Do you have a bit of that bias set in, and is that something that's true and real, or is it something that you're thinking inside and it's probably not right? So, you know, consider that. Then, you know, don't be afraid to be wrong. Like my mentor said, we get things wrong. We don't know the answer sometimes. That's completely okay. And finally, have a crack. Yeah. So, like, just don't be afraid to have a go. If you're a genuine human and you're there to learn and grow and have a genuine crack at it, you will succeed every time. You know, whether you're in the mining industry, whether you're in the construction industry, whether you're, I don't know, own a fish and chip shop, like it will work every single time as long as you're a genuine human and you're not trying to be, you know, part of the boys club, or, you know, you don't have to, you know, have to conform to a male stereotype to do really well in this industry. You just be yourself and work hard and put your hand up for opportunities. You will get far. Yeah, that's all the questions.
That's it. Well, thank you so much. That was super insightful. It was really great to have you here.
Banged on for 15 minutes.
We wanted to open it up to you guys. If anyone had any questions they'd like to ask Sam, please yell out.
Any shared experiences? Anything resonate with anybody? Yeah, got a nod. Can I give you a microphone?
I just think a bit of the imposter syndrome. I definitely think I notice people thinking, I'm not getting this because I'm a woman and I'm not getting that. And that can be built into people. And I think that's a shame because that actually devalues a lot of the really great men that we have here. And I think it's really important that people actually try and look at the facts and ask questions. So where you're assuming things, don't make assumptions. Ask the question and get to the answer. But don't. I think my experience of women, and again, I'm probably now guilty of doing my own stereotyping, is that the reason that, you know, a man might get paid more in a particular role or might get an opportunity is, guess what? They ask. Guess what? They put their hand up and they know their worth. So know your worth and value yourself and ask for the opportunities that you want and be confident. And I think it's great. Like, you don't have to know anything, and it's worse when you try and pretend you do or try and pretend to be someone you're not. So I think being authentic but backing yourself, and, you know, you get a woman coming back from maternity leave. I'm just so grateful to have a job and be offered part-time, whereas, you know, someone else comes back and often, you know, we're in a male-dominated industry. I ask for what I want and I deserve it because I'm bloody good at my job. So I think there's just a bit of that seems to be intrinsically built in to a lot of women. And I think that's something that it's actually not the industry that needs to overcome or the men around us. I think it's something that we all actually need to overcome within ourselves. So, yeah, a lot of what you said resonates.
Oh, yay. I'm glad. Does anyone else have a question? Oh.
Sorry, I do know this is starting to sound like a bit of a therapy session. But
I think we all need it.
Just not everyone feels the same, right?
Thank you. I've got a question. So you talked about mentoring and how you've had lots of mentors over the years. How did you decide to kind of like flip the switch and then decide to be a mentor yourself? Like, was that a bit of something you had to overcome, or?
I got approached actually. It was during a CCF meeting. I did a sponsored speech and was sort of talking about the same stuff as we're talking about today. And it's like, they're like, oh, you need to have a mentee. But again, it comes down to putting your hand up, right? So I know as part of my professional development with my boss, it was one of my goals for the year was to become a mentor. It looks bloody great on your CV for starters, but also it helps you become a better manager later down the track for when you manage a whole team of people. So I put my hand up, and then that was then relayed across the business, and I've had a couple of people internally through WestTrack that have come and asked me to be their mentor, and then CCF, Portland, and asked me to do that.
sales.
Awesome. It sounds like internal communication was very strong there. Very pro that.
Anyone else have a question? Well, thanks everyone. Did you have anything else to?
No, like I said, I'll bang on for however long you want me to, but, you know, there's only so much we can say without boring you guys to sleep. So, yeah, no, thank you for having me here today. Hopefully you all took a little bit of something out of that. You know, yeah, thanks girls for organising.
Thank you. Okay, so we've got a barbecue going on now. If anyone would like to stay around to get a barbecue and then a photo. Yeah, photo up the front with everybody, and then they just